Hello there, it's Jan here from JB Crafts. Thank you for joining me today. I hope everyone's keeping well. I have a new tutorial for you today, and we're making concept cards. So this is something that I slot in every so often, just showing you different styles of cards that you can make. And this all folds down to a 7 by 5 inch card. So it's a nice easy size to make. I've used a piece of A4 cardstock to get to the measurements, and it is what's called a double Z fold. So the front, lots and lots of decoration on the front with the sentiment, and then it opens up and you've got some extra detail inside along with a little space to write a message, or you could pop another sentiment in there. But it gets its name from the shape of the card here. We've got the two Z's in there, so you can do a single Z fold, which would just be the, I tend to call a fold back card, and then we've got the extra piece in here to make the double Z. So really simple to do. Just chosen some pretty papers from my stash. I'd just decorated it with bits and pieces that I had, sort of knocking about. So we'll get into the tutorial. I'll show you the pieces that I've cut and how to score them. And then we'll get into the decoration, which I've got some of that prepped ready. So we'll pop that one over to one side. And to start off with, you're going to need 2 pieces of cardstock. And these were both cut from an A4 sheet. So if I bring the other piece in as well, you can see they're both 10 inches wide. And then I've got one that is 7 inches tall. So scored down the centre, this is going to make our 7 by 5 card. And then I've got one that's 3.5 inches tall. So this has all come out of my piece of A4. Okay, so this way obviously. And I'm just saying, has it all come out of one piece of A4? Yes, it has. Yes. That's confusing me now. My brain's just shut down. It looks bigger than A4. Anyway, these are the sizes of the pieces that we need. So 10 inches by 7 and 10 inches by 3.5. Now this particular piece can be any width. So I've actually done it at 3.5 inches for my design because I wanted a nice broad piece here to keep the sentiment in place. You can have a really narrow strip here, and this strip, when you see how it's positioned, can go anywhere on the card. So it could be across the top, you could have bits dangling from it, it's across the middle, it can be across the bottom, however you wish. So let's start off with the scoreboard. I'll just grab my scoreboard and scoring tool. And I want to keep the pearlescent cardstock. I've used my Centura Pearl cardstock. You can just see that gorgeous pearlescent finish on it. I want to keep that visible. So I'm going to flip it over. And I'm going to do my halfway score line on the back because we want to fold it in with the pearl inside. So I'm just going to score it at 5 inches to start off with. And we've got that halfway fold line to just make a standard 5 by 7 card. And then what we want to do is we want to fold this bit back on itself. So I'm going to pop it back on the pearlescent side facing up. And half of 5 is 2.5. So we're going to put another line at 2.5 inches all along this long side. Okay. And then we can fold this one back on itself. So you're going to get this kind of effect, but I've still got all my Centura pearls showing, and this is where we get that Z from. Okay, and then you're going to do exactly the same on the other piece. Okay, so I have scored at 5 inches, and I've done this on the pearlescent side, and then I'm going to turn it over and I'm going to score that halfway mark on the reverse side at 2.5 inches. And the reason I've done that the other way around is because it's going to fold the other way. So let's just pop that one down there for a second, and we'll get this one burnished first. So where I've folded it in half, just make sure everything's nice and straight, and we'll get that sort of standard 5 by 7. So if you have a shop bought 5 by 7 card, you could do this and then just add a piece of scrap to make the band. And then we're going to fold this bit back on itself. And again, just making sure that everything's running straight and give it a good burnish so that you've got those folds in place. And then we're going to do exactly the same with this one. I'm going to fold it in half first on that 5 inch line. and we are just going to burnish that piece in place. And then this one I'm going to bring back on itself again and again. Burnish those score lines. Really teaches that cardstock where you want it to go. So the idea with this is that this one fits. So this is the way that they're both folded. If you look at them like so. And then we need to rotate this one 180 degrees so that the long part is on this side and the short part is on the right hand side. And they're going to fit together like so. And like I said, you can either have this right at the top, maybe do a narrower one and have things maybe like butterflies hung on acetate, things like that to make them look as if they're floating. You can have it right at the bottom like so. I'm going to go for mine sort of central in the middle. Now I have got something on my cardstock here, but this panel's going to be covered, so I'm not quite sure. I don't know what that is. I can just see a little bit of a discoloration on it, but I am going to cover that front panel, so it's not going to show. So we're going to do a bit of matting and layering, and I'm going to show you how I've stretched my cardstock because I chose 6x6 papers, and obviously the 6-inch paper pad comes short of my 7-inch panel. So I've actually stretched mine to make them fit and make them do what I wanted to do. So I've made a panel for the front here, like so. And this one measures 6 3/4. So I've come down 1/4 inch on each measurement by 2 1/4. And we've got that lovely piece of the white card showing here all the way around. And you can see where I've cut my piece of paper in half. I've cut the paper will be 6 1/2 by 2 inches. And I've just cut it in the middle, and I'm going to pop a little bit of a feature on here just to cover that up. So that one's going to stick on the front. But first of all, we need to pop this one. And again, you know, you can have this underneath with this on top. I actually want to trap this underneath today. Okay, so I'm actually going to pop it underneath and then put the panel on like so. The back one we can actually put in, and I've done the same with the back one. I've got a piece that is 6 3/4 height again by 4 3/4 this time, so 1/4 inch smaller than my 5-inch card blank. The paper was 6 inches tall and it will be 4 1/2 inches wide, and I've got that stuck down ready, and I've split it again in the middle. I've just chopped it in half and stretched it, and then this was actually the piece that I cut off the side here, and I'm going to put it this way. It adds a bit of interest to the paper, and B, this bit's going to be stuck over here, so you're only going to see inside the card that little tiny piece across the middle, and it's utilising those papers. So we can get this one stuck down, and I'm going to use my dot runner for this, just for speed. So we pop these on the back. Okay. And that one's just going to go flat on that back surface there. And again, we've got that nice border all the way around. So just get that centered, get it straight, and then give that one a good press. And then this one, as I say, I'm just going to add some adhesive to the back of the strip. And I've just got it the same width as the rest of the card. And we're just going to pop this one over the middle here, like so. And nobody would be any the wiser. And I quite like the stripes going the opposite way. It just gives it a little bit of interest. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to stick this piece on here. So I didn't get this one ready because I wanted to show you where to put the tape on here. So I'm going to use my double-sided tape for this, and I'm going to put it on the back of the smaller fold back panel here. So I want to put a couple of pieces across here like so. In fact, we might go for one in the middle as well, just to make sure it's nice and secure like that. And then if you keep it folded, you want tape on this bit that's exposed from the long panel as well. So I'll show you where I've put it. Let me just get this in place. And obviously they're two separate panels, so I couldn't have gone the whole way across and done it all in one. These are two separate panels. So like so, we've got that in place. And if you look at it again in situ, this is where it's going to go here. So we've got tape on the back of this last panel that's going to stick to the card like so. And then I've got tape halfway along the long panel, which is going to stick on here. And the easiest way I find of doing that is if you've got it closed, you know which is the bit that needs the tape on. Excuse me. So I am just going to use my pencil and roughly mark, not with that one because it's not long enough, Jan. I'm just going to mark roughly where the centre is on here. So if we've got 7 inches in height, we are 3.5 inches for the centre. And then on this side as well. Again, not necessary, it's just, you know what my OCD is like. I wanted it to be in the middle, and that way I've got a bit of a guideline as to where to go. So what I'm going to do then is I'm going to take the tape off the long panel and just get that one situated first, and then the second one will actually find its own position once you close the card. So we get rid of the pieces off there, and I'm going to pop it face down. So we've got the long side on the left, the short side on the right. Got both my pearlescent fascias facing up, and I want to get this one pretty much centered, and I am just going to eyeball it this way so that I've got about the same. It doesn't matter if it's not perfectly in the middle. And then I'm going to line it up with the outside edge of the card, and when I'm happy with that, we can give that a good press into place there. And then if you close the card, the second one should land in the right place. So again, we take off the liner from the tape. And then we can get this one positioned, then we can do the rest of the actual decorating. So if you close the card now, this one will find its own position. So as long as everything folds flat, we're in the right place. And you will find that there is a slight, and it's a very slight bit, popping over the edge here, and that's just because of the score lines. So it's essentially where we've done the score lines in the fold, it's just pushed it out a little tiny bit. You can see it's like a 1/16 of an inch if I'm lucky, and all I'm going to do is run my scissors down there and just take off that little piece level with the edge of the card. You can see there it is a tiny little sliver, just the width of a score line. Okay, so if you want to trim that bit off, it is surplus to requirements. And we've got that nice edge now, and we've got our double Z. So now I've done that, I can actually stick this piece on the front. So again, we're going to go with the dot runner for the panels. And this one's just going to go. Now, if it is directional, mine is, I'm going to have the, obviously, the, you know, the flowers are growing in a direction. Just be careful that you get papers in the right orientation. Now, it's really sunny here today. Really sunny. I'm absolutely baking in my conservatory. But the sun's obviously gone behind a cloud. I don't know whether you just noticed the difference in the light. It's gone really quite dull compared to what it was a second ago. I'm hoping it pops back out again shortly. Okay, so we've now got the beginnings of our cards. If I bring this one in again, you can see we've got that structure now. You can see the panels there. We've got the piece in the background, and we've got the long piece at the front. So what we need to do now then is we need to address the gap, and we're going to decorate these side pieces as well. So what I've got is some extra pieces cut. And I've got 2 pieces at 3 1/4 by 2 1/4, and these are going to fit in here like so, on here. And then my white piece is cut at 3 by 2, so 1/4 of an inch smaller. We're going to stamp on this one, which is why I haven't put them together yet. And then I've got a second one exactly the same to go in the back there, so this one can stick down. My apologies if you can hear the dog barking in the background. We're not quite sure what's going off over the back of our gardens. There's been a dog out all day, bless it. The owners, I don't know whether the owners have left it outside because it was so warm inside, but it's been barking all day. poor thing, it's clearly looking for its owners and wanting to go back inside. So if you can hear that in the background, it's not ours. We don't have any doggos anymore, unfortunately. But yeah, it is out the back there. And then I've cut a piece of the pattern paper, which is the same size as the mat layer. So it's exactly the same size. You can mat this one if you want, but I chose to just use the paper. So this is the 3 1/4 by 2 1/4. And this one's going to go in the middle here. So if you want to use the mat layers again, you can. I was trying to be frugal and make my piece of card go all the way for the design instead of having to create a, cut into a second piece. So this one's just going to go level in the gap there. Press it down. And then we can put this piece on. And then we're going to do a little bit of stamping on that white panel. And again, you can use any sentiment. This one's going to go in here like so. I chose a just for you sentiment for this one because I just think it covers so many different occasions. So we'll pop that to one side. You can see we've got all that decorated. If you want to put paper in this side, you can. I did consider putting a nice embossed panel in here, but I changed my mind. I thought, no, it's going to make it a little bit bulky for when it closes. I wanted it to close reasonably flat for posting. So I'm going to bring my stamp positioner into play. We want this nice little piece of 3 by 2. I'm going to pop that right down in the corner here. And then my stamp is an old Stampin' Up set called Just For You. And you've got lots of different ways of using it. And, you can mix and match them. But I'm actually going to use this one. Okay. And I've got that out already. I've just popped it on my block to keep it safe. And I'm going to position this in pretty much in the centre of my design. Get that lined up where I want it. We'll pop the magnet in play. Just move those to one side. Pick that up, and I'm going to use my black VersaFine Clair for this one. It's a really nice, strong black. And they are good photopolymer stamps, so you get a really nice, crisp image first time round. So I'm going to pop that on here. Give it a good press to transfer that ink. Pop that one back. And then when we lift that up, we've got that really nice crisp image. Now then, let me just get the rest of, I don't know whether I didn't press that or whether I've not inked it up properly. I don't think I've inked that bit properly. So let me just redo the J at the beginning there. I think it had escaped a little bit of the ink. And just make contact with that one. That's better. Yep. And then my stamps just get treated to a little bit of a scrub with my cloth. And then that can go back in here. On there. And then I've just got them filed in one of the clear pockets. They're a really nice set, these. They did several of them. There was a thank you. There was a happy birthday. Okay, right, pop that to one side. Take that one out. I just need to be careful that that ink sets because it is my VersaFine Clair, which is a hybrid ink pad, so it doesn't dry immediately. So I'm just going to leave that one while we do a bit more decoration on the card. So we need to address this little piece here. And again, I've got my tub of goodies at the ready. All sorts of bits and pieces in here. I've got some flowers to do the decoration. So these are just paper flowers out of my stash. So I've got 4 little flowers. I have die cut a butterfly, and I think I've shown you this set before. It's a go-to set for my butterflies. It's a really old Crafter's Companion Sarah signature collection called Shabby Chic, and I love these. And I've cut the middle one and the smaller one in a couple of shades of the pink just to pick out the detail because there was a couple of shades of pink in here. So we've got that one at the ready to go. I've got some elements, some embellishments to go in here as well. So we'll just get all the bits and pieces out. I've got some little tiny die cut flowers, and again I think you've seen this particular die. I've got some hearts, which I've just done with my paper punch. Comes in handy every so often just for tiny little embellishments. And then I have got some gems in there as well, just to put in the middle of the flower. So I'll just leave those in there so that they don't get lost. So this was the piece that I'd done prepared for here. So all I've done is I've cut a piece of this buff coloured card that I've used to mat and layer, and I've had a little bit of my dotty ribbon in there, and that's going to go as a feature. And again, if I'd have put this on already, you wouldn't have known that there was a gap underneath. And I have popped some tape on this, A, to secure the ribbon, which I've wrapped round it, and B, just to make sure it stays in place well, this one, because it's going to cover that gap. So all I'm going to do is pop this right across. It goes right to the edge here, and I'm just going to sort of eyeball where the gap is and let that drop and find its place. So you can see now how we've stretched that 6-inch paper and we've lost the gap in between. And then we're about ready to embellish. So I'm going to use a combination of my acrylic glue, and I've got my hot glue gun on at the ready too for the flowers, the paper flowers. I'm going to use the hot glue here as well. How are we doing with the glue stick? We might just make it, I think. So we'll pop that one on the side there. And again, I've got all sorts of bits and pieces. So I've got a little stamp which has been stamped from one of my stamp sets. And I've just stamped that in some Victorian velvet distress ink. Well, I'm saying distress ink. This one's stamped in oxide. And then I distressed around the edges of the paper in the coordinating Victorian velvet ink, so that I'd got that little bit of depth. And again, I'm just going to add a bit of the acrylic glue on the back of here. And this is going to build up part of my collage of items here. So this one's going to go in the background. We're going to push it back with the other bits and pieces, and then we're going to pop the flowers on. So I'm going to go with the nice big rose with a squeeze of the glue. I'm hoping I've got some more glue sticks. We're okay. So this one's going to go up here just above the centre band. And then I'm going to work my way down with the rest of the flowers. So again, we've got a pinky tinge to this one with the little pieces in the middle there, the little stamens and things. So that one's going to go on here. And then I've just die cut a little bit out of the background again and added some ink to it. So this one's just going to go underneath to add a bit of interest with the foliage. So I want some little dots of glue on the back of here, and then I want to position this one so that it's coming sort of right down like so before we nestle the other ones on top. And I've got another creamy coloured one. Again, let me just grab another glue stick because I think that one's getting low down. So again, we're just going to use a bit of that glue that's already on there and pop it in the back and stick it to the one inside. And then we're good to go with the next piece. And again, I want to get those little swirly bits sort of sticking out. Just nestle them up together. A little bit of that glue showing there, so I've just pushed that back with my tweezers. There we go. And then I've got one last one. This one's slightly different to what I did on the first one, but I just grabbed a handful of flowers out of my box, and that one works just as well here on the front. Then we're going to go with the butterfly on the top there. So he's just going to sit, and I'm going to add a little bit of the glue as well, just for longevity. This one's going to sit on the top here. And I've kept everything within the card so that when it folds flat, there's nothing sticking out that's going to affect the you know, the delivery if you want to mail it. And then I've got these little tiny flowers which have been die cut and inked, and we're going to pop those just, I've got a set of 3 of them, and I am just going to scatter them into the gaps here to link everything together. So we've got one, and I'm just putting glue around the middle of these. I'm going to bring one down here and just nestle that one in with the others. And then the third one, in fact that wants to come this way just a little bit, there we go. And then this one's going to come down towards the bottom so that we've got that kind of visual triangle going on again. So we've got 1, 2, I'm going to bring this one right down the bottom here. And that's what the little gems were for. So again, just a little tiny drop of glue in the middle of the flowers. And then we can add those little pink gems. Into the middle there, just to bring everything together. And then just to finish off, I had some of the little punched hearts, and again it just adds, you know, you can put as much or as little. I have to sort of remind myself, I'm a bit of a step away from the card kind of girl, you know. I'm like, oh, we'll keep going, what else can we add, what else? And then I think, no, stop it, you know, we've done enough. So I'm just going to put a couple of these on the front in that cluster of embellishments. So I'm going to nestle one of them just inside here, like so. Just brings everything together. And then the third one, I'm going to link the sentiment by just adding one to the bottom of here, like so. So just that odd one there, just to bring this into the rest of the design. So we can get this one on now. That ink should be well dry now. So this one's going to go straight onto here and just mat onto that layer. And then the last thing that I want to do is I've got that little bit of cheesecloth, and this was an afterthought when I'd done the original design. So I thought I'll do it the same way just to show you what I've done. And I've chopped it into 3 smaller pieces. And I decided that I just wanted that little bit of sort of thread or frayed bit in. And I'm actually going to pop it in between the gaps. So we want a little bit of glue in the back of here. So I'm just going to put a tiny bit of the hot glue. And then I'm just going to push this in here with my tweezers and let the glue grab it and do its thing. And then we can fray those edges out so that there's just that little bit of texture. And I'm going to do that in 3 places. So I also want to come in to this bit here inside. So again, just a bit of glue inside there. And then I'm just stretching elements of the cheesecloth just to sort of make it raggy and the threads stick out. And then I'm going to push that bit in here. Like so. And you can put it underneath. You can do this. Sometimes I'll lay the cheesecloth underneath if I want it showing. But as I say, it was a little bit of an afterthought. I thought, oh, I just saw it sat on my desk. I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to pop a little bit of this in places just to add that bit of texture and a bit more interest. So again, this one's going to push under here. And then you can just, you know, fray it round the edges so that we've got those bits of threads sticking out in places. And it's very subtle, but it's just there adding that little bit of interest. So I think we've got everything on there. Let me just put the glue to one side, pop that one over there out of the way, and let's have a little look. We've got some of those glue threads there. There we go. So we've got all our embellishments on. I've left the wings on the butterfly separate so that you can lift those up. Got that nice little cluster of flowers. And then we've got our opening here where you can pop a greeting. If you wanted to pop a second sentiment in here, you can, and you can always put a matten layer on the back to add a greeting, or you could just stamp straight onto the back of the card, write a message on there, and it does fold. Apart from the flowers on this one, if you wanted to use flat paper flowers, there wouldn't be as much dimension. But it does, the card itself, the card design does fold reasonably flat. I just chose to use the paper flowers, so there is a bit of dimension with those. And again, I'd probably make a little gift box to pop it in, or a gift bag, so you can see there. And then I don't think, even on the original one here, don't think I actually added, normally I've added more gems, but because I'd got them in the flower centres and on the butterfly, I was tempted to pop them on here, and I thought, no, just for once, Jan, just step away from the gems, and I didn't add any extras. Quite proud of myself, because you know that my cards always have gems on to finish, but I did decide that that was enough. So we've got them exactly the same today there. The only thing that's different is I couldn't find another one of these little pink flowers, so I've just substituted it for one of the little flat paper flowers there. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. So that's my design for today, that double Z fold. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope you're going to have a go at making it. I'll pop you that one in that's got the pink flower on. Okay. So if you've enjoyed it, consider giving it a thumbs up for me. It does help tremendously with the channel when we're trying to grow the channel. If you are new to the channel today, I would love to have you as a subscriber. If you've enjoyed the content today, come and join the crafty family. And thank you to all of those that are already subscribing and keep returning. And I know there's several of you that are regular commenters on the videos. Thank everybody for all their input and for keeping the channel going in the right direction. So I'll be back very soon. I've got another construction one, another concept design for the next tutorial. I've got that one ready to film, and I'll be back very shortly with that to show you guys. So enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye bye now.